If you're a woman over 60, I want you to pause for a moment and really hear this. You've spent decades showing up for everyone else. You've been the caretaker, the peacemaker, the one holding everything together, often in silence, often without thanks. You've navigated love, loss, motherhood, careers, heartbreaks, and breakthroughs. And now here you are, entering a season of life no one really prepared you for. One that's not about sacrifice, but about sovereignty. For the first time in a long time, you get to ask, what do I want? What brings me peace? What makes me feel alive? But too often, we carry old rules into this new chapter. We hold on to habits, guilt, fear, and expectations that no longer belong to us. We keep living like we have all the time in the world, and like our joy should still come last. This video is not a to-do list. It's a gentle but honest wake-up call. It's about 9 things every wise woman deserves to let go of. Not because she's failed, but because she's earned the right to live lighter, freer, and on her own terms. You've spent your life being strong for others. Now it's your turn to be soft with yourself. Stay with me. This might be the reminder you didn't know you needed. 1. Stop living like you have forever. We don't like to talk about it. The truth that time isn't promised. We act like we have endless years ahead, like there will always be another summer, another chance, another someday. But deep down, you know better. You've felt the sting of loss. You've watched friends, siblings, maybe even a partner fade from your life sooner than expected. You've whispered to yourself, I thought we had more time. Here's the hard but liberating truth. We don't know how many years we get, and that makes today sacred. When you truly let that sink in, something powerful happens. You stop waiting. You stop tolerating. You stop postponing the trip, the phone call, the forgiveness, the dance class you've always wanted to try. You begin to live on purpose, not in fear of dying, but in deep respect for life. I once asked a woman in her late 60s what she would do differently if she knew this was her last year. She didn't even hesitate. I'd laugh more. I'd wear the good earrings on a Tuesday. I'd stop holding back the I love yous. And I'd finally write that book I keep talking about. And then she paused and whispered, why am I not doing those things already? Why not indeed? This isn't about being reckless. It's about being awake. If you've got breath in your lungs and even a little bit of strength in your bones, you've got enough to start living in a way that honors who you are and what you've survived. So let me ask you this. If this was your last year, what would you do differently? And more importantly, why wait? Second stop, waiting for permission to choose joy. Somewhere along the way, many of us, especially women, learned to wait. We waited for the right time, for someone to say it's okay, for all the stars to align before we allowed ourselves to want something deeply personal. We waited to be chosen, to be invited, to be approved of. But let me say this clearly. You don't need permission anymore. You've raised kids, managed homes, shown up to jobs even on days when your heart was breaking. You've made sacrifices people will never know about. If anyone has earned the right to do what makes her heart feel light, it's you. Still, I hear it all the time. I've always wanted to learn piano. I've dreamed of traveling to Ireland. I love painting, but I'm not good at it. And then comes the pause. Maybe one day. Maybe next year. Maybe when I have more time. But joy doesn't belong in the maybe pile. I once met a woman who didn't start painting until she was 72. She'd been terrified that people would laugh, that she'd be terrible at it, that it was silly. But when she finally picked up that brush, she cried. Not because it was perfect, but because it was hers. A part of her that had waited decades finally got to breathe. You don't need to be good at something to enjoy it. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to earn it. If it fills your spirit, do it. This season of life isn't about shrinking. It's about expanding into all the parts of you that had to wait their turn. And their turn is now. So what's something you've always wanted to do? And what would happen if you just started? 3. Stop worrying about what other people think. For most of your life, you've probably been guided or restricted by what others expected of you. Be polite, be appropriate, be the good daughter, the loyal wife, the responsible mother, and even now, after 60, some of that pressure still lingers. But the truth is, you've earned the freedom to stop living for everyone else's comfort. Let me ask you something. How many dreams have you tucked away because they didn't make sense to someone else? How many times have you stayed quiet just to avoid being judged? How often have you put yourself last, afraid of seeming selfish? There comes a point, and I hope this is that point, when you get to say, enough. You want to wear bright lipstick and sparkly shoes? Do it. You want to dance in your kitchen or start dating again or spend your weekends alone in absolute peace? Do it. You've spent decades editing yourself to make others feel more comfortable. Now is the time to be fully, unapologetically you. I remember speaking with a woman in her mid-60s who had always wanted to take a theater class, but she was scared people would laugh at her, that she'd be too old to belong. I told her gently, "You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to express what's been buried." She signed up. She cried after her first monologue. And not because of the performance, but because she felt seen for the first time in years. People might judge. Let them. That's not your business. Your business is joy. Your business is truth. And your life is yours. So stop asking, will they approve? And start asking, will this make me feel alive? 4th, stop spending money out of guilt. Start spending with heart. Money is a tricky thing, especially for women of our generation. We were often taught to be frugal, to take care of others first, to save just in case. And those lessons served us well, for a time. But now, that old habit of spending out of guilt or obligation can keep us stuck in patterns that no longer serve the life we truly want. You've probably bought birthday gifts you didn't want to give, said yes to charity events you didn't care about, or picked up the checkout of some unspoken pressure. Maybe you've spent on things that filled a moment, but not your soul. Let's shift that. Imagine this. Every dollar you spend is a little vote for the life you want. And after 60, those votes matter more than ever. They shouldn't go to things that leave you feeling resentful, used, or empty. They should go to connection, beauty, comfort, freedom, and joy. I once spoke to a woman who spent thousands on clothes she never wore. But what lit her up, what she still talked about with teary eyes, was the $400 flight she took to surprise her sister on her 70th birthday. That weekend, those laughs, that hug at the airport, were priceless. So here's your new rule. If it doesn't bring peace, connection, or joy, it's not worth it. Whether it's a pair of shoes or a new sofa or a trip to Maine with your grandkids, ask yourself, does this reflect the life I want to live now? You've earned the right to spend not just wisely, but meaningfully. 5. Stop saving out of fear. Trust the life you've built. For decades, saving money has likely been second nature. It was how you protected your family, your future, your peace of mind. And let's be clear, that was wise, responsible, and necessary. But now, for many women after 60, that old mindset of always saving just in case can start to work against you. Because what happens when just in case never comes? I once met a retired woman who had nearly $1 million in savings. Her house was paid off. Her kids were grown. She was in good health. And yet, she told me she felt guilty every time she spent more than $20 on herself. She'd skip lunch with friends. She'd turn down trips. She'd say, "What if I need that money later?" So I asked her gently, what if later never comes? What if this is the time you were saving for all along? That question changed something in her. And maybe it's changing something in you too. This isn't about being reckless. It's about recognizing that you've done the hard work. You've prepared. You've planned. And now You're allowed to enjoy what you've built. You don't owe anyone an apology for living a little, laughing a little louder, or saying yes to something that makes your life richer, even if it costs a bit more. Your savings aren't just for emergencies, they're for memories, for that girls' trip, for the art class, for the reclining chair that finally lets your back rest, for the moments that make you say, "This is why I worked so hard." So stop asking, "What if I run out?" and start asking, "What's worth spending on while I still can?" 6. Stop neglecting your health. Care for yourself, like you've cared for everyone else. Let's be honest. When it came to taking care of people, you were the first one up and the last one to rest. You were the nurse, the chef, the chauffeur, the counselor, the one holding it all together. But when it came to your health, that always seemed to land at the bottom of the list. Now it's time to flip that. Because after 60, your health isn't just about how you look, it's about how you live. It's your energy, your independence, your ability to wake up and say, "I feel good today." And no amount of money, no dream vacation, no retirement plan means much if your body can't carry you through it with ease. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have a fortune in the bank but feel exhausted, in pain, and limited? Or would you rather have just enough and feel strong, mobile, and fully alive? Here's the good news. You don't need to become a gym rat or go vegan overnight. You just need to start. Start walking 15 minutes a day. Start stretching each morning. Start saying yes to that low-impact water class your neighbor keeps inviting you to. Say yes to that doctor's appointment you've been avoiding. Because your body? It's not something to battle. It's the vehicle that will carry you through the most meaningful years ahead. You've taken care of everyone else for so long. Now it's your turn, not out of vanity, out of love. Because you're not just living longer, you deserve to live well. 7. Stop letting the news steal your peace. Every morning, millions of us reach for the remote or the phone before we even take our first deep breath. We flip on the news or open our favorite app, and within seconds, war, crime, disaster, division, it's like pouring a bucket of cold fear onto the start of our day. And here's the thing. You probably started watching the news because you cared, because you wanted to be informed, thoughtful, engaged. But somewhere along the way, the updates turned into anxiety, the headlines turned into heartbreak, and suddenly you're carrying the weight of a world you can't fix, in a body that's already tired. I say this with love. You are not meant to absorb that much darkness every day. I've spoken to so many women over 60 who say the same thing. I watch the news to stay aware, but it just leaves me angry or helpless. One woman told me she started getting chest pains, not from illness, but from hours of tension, gripping the armrest while the anchor talked about everything that's going wrong. And here's the truth we rarely acknowledge. Much of today's news isn't there to inform you. It's there to hook you, to keep you scared, outraged, tuned in. Why? Because fear is profitable. But peace? Peace doesn't sell ads. So what do? We reclaim our peace. That doesn't mean sticking our head in the sand. It means setting boundaries around what we let into our minds and hearts. It means saying, "I'll read a trusted source once a day, and then I'm done." It means turning off the television when it starts to raise your blood pressure instead of your awareness. And then, here's the most important part. It means choosing what fills the space instead. Put on music that stirs your soul. Call a friend you haven't talked to in months. Walk through your neighborhood and notice the small kindnesses still happening. The neighbor who waters your plants, the stranger who waves, the grandchild who asks about your day. There is so much still right with the world, but you have to give yourself permission to see it. You're in a chapter of life where your peace is not just precious, it's essential. And it's not selfish to protect it. It's wise. It's responsible. It's healing. So today, try this simple shift. Instead of asking, "What did I miss in the news?" ask, "What brought me peace today?" 8. Stop postponing the experiences that make you feel alive. Let's talk about the things we say we'll do someday. I've always wanted to see the Grand Canyon. I'll take that pottery class when life settles down. I'd love to visit Paris. Maybe next year. Sound familiar? We all have our someday list, but here's the quiet truth most people never say out loud. Someday is not a day on the calendar, and too many beautiful moments get buried under the illusion that we'll get around to them eventually. The question is, what if eventually never comes? I met a woman. Let's call her Helen. She was 67, recently retired, full of life but hesitant. For over 30 years, she and her husband had talked about renting a little cabin by the coast, just the two of them. They said they'd do it once they had more time, more money once the kids were older. But life kept happening. And then, her husband passed away suddenly. She never booked the trip. One day, a year after the funeral, she looked at me and said, "I kept waiting for the right time. I didn't realize I was the right time." That sentence stayed with me, because here's the truth. The life you've been dreaming of doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need a flawless plan. You just need to start. Pick one thing on your someday list, just one, and take a small step toward it this week, not next month, not after things calm down. This week, book the class, write the letter, visit that old friend, plant the garden, dance in the kitchen. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. And don't worry if it feels a little scary. That fear? It's often a sign that you're finally putting yourself first, and that's not selfish. That's healing. That's freedom. You've waited long enough. Now is not the time to delay life. Now is the time to live it. 9. Stop letting money make the decisions. You've already earned the right to live. Let's be honest. Money has shaped so many of the choices we've made throughout life. Where we lived, what we gave up, what we said no to, even when our hearts said yes. We worked, we sacrificed, we saved, and we learned to make every dollar stretch. Not because we didn't dream big, but because we had to be practical. But now, after 60, that mindset can quietly become a prison. I've sat with women who have more than enough in retirement, and yet they still panic when it's time to spend. They're haunted by what ifs. What if I live longer than expected? What if I need that money for medical care? What if I run out? Those are real concerns, and it's smart to plan. But here's the line no one talks about. You can plan your life to death and never actually live it. One woman I spoke to had spreadsheets for everything. Her expenses, her investments, her estate plan. She was sharp, organized, responsible. But when I asked her when she last did something just because it made her happy, she went quiet. "I don't remember," she said. She didn't need more money. She needed permission to live. So let me offer you this. If your basic needs are covered, if your plan is in place, then money is no longer the boss of you. It's not there to make you anxious. It's not there to keep you frozen. It's there to support your joy, to fuel your purpose, to enrich the life you've waited so long to create. Use your money wisely, yes, but also use it lovingly. Use it to take your granddaughter on that trip, to buy that painting you've loved for years, to install the cozy reading chair by the window that makes you look forward to mornings again. A strong financial plan isn't just about how much you leave behind. It's about how fully you live while you're here. So the question becomes, what are you afraid to spend on that might actually bring you back to life? So here we are. We've walked through 9 things you no longer need to carry, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've done enough. You've given enough. You've sacrificed enough. And now, this season is about receiving. It's about returning to yourself. Let's remember what we've uncovered together. Let go of the illusion that time is endless, and start making space for the life you've delayed. Let go of the idea that joy needs permission. and say yes to what lights you up. Let go of other people's opinions and live boldly as you are. Let go of spending from guilt and start spending from the heart. Let go of saving out of fear and trust the life you've built. Let go of neglecting your health and care for your body like the sacred vessel it is. Let go of the noise and protect your peace. Let go of waiting for the right moment and just begin. And finally, let go of letting money dictate your joy. You've already earned the right to live. Because at this point in your life, less isn't about lack. Less is about lightness, about unburdening, about finally making room for what truly matters: love, connection, laughter, peace. Let me ask you one last question and take a moment to really consider it. What are you ready to let go of? Starting today, write it down, say it out loud. Or, if you feel comfortable, share it in the comments below. Your courage might give someone else the strength to do the same. And if this message stirred something in you, if it reminded you of your worth, your wisdom, your right to live fully, then send it to another woman in your life, a sister, a friend, a mother, a neighbor. We rise by reminding each other of what's still possible. Because aging, my friend, isn't about fading. It's about arriving. It's about finally showing up for your own life, with both hands open and your heart wide awake. Thank you for spending this time with me. You are not alone on this journey. And trust me, the best of you is still unfolding.